to share with you how I'm planning to have my wildest summer yet without a drop of alcohol in sight. But before I go into my summer plans, I wanted to pause and give you a little bit of a life update. What's been going on, what we're working on, what's coming next, and kind of just tell you a little bit more about my summer and how I have literally the best summers ever as an alcohol-free woman. Because if you really think about it, summer can be one of the hardest seasons to be alcohol-free because it's so much tied in our subconscious mind with the sense of fun and the sense of wildness and the sense of freedom that you get. You know, like I was just walking around the neighborhood with my husband and our dog, and everyone's getting out of school these days, all the kids, right? Like it's that sense of freedom, it's that sense of wildness. And I find that a lot of people, when they transition into an alcohol-free lifestyle, have a lot of trouble really meeting this need. Like, how are you able to feel this sense of freedom and this sense of wildness and this sense of like electric, raw energy without alcohol? Now, I would argue that that is what alcohol actually diminishes, that truly alcohol diminishes that wild part of us and makes us feel numb at the end of the day and all that kind of stuff. But I know that this is something that so many of us go through, so I'm going to tell you how I navigate my summers and how I have literally the best summers ever alcohol-free. I'm a Leo, so my birthday is in the summer. It's in the end of July. I love everything about the summer. Like, I love summer fruit. I love like summer picnics. I love the ocean. So it's finally warm enough to go and swim. Everything about the summer is something that just makes it my favorite season of the year. And it's something that I've really explored, how to feel so alive, so wild in my alcohol-free lifestyle without that feeling that you need a crutch or you need some kind of substance in order to feel like that. But before we get there, let's do a little life update. So this past weekend, when the episode airs, it'd be like, a weekend or two ago. But basically, I went to fly to Orlando, Florida, and I went to this really incredible event for leaders who are refining their keynote speeches. Now, I really love speaking on stages. It's one of my favorite ways of connecting with people. I've spoken on multiple stages across the nation. I've been on TV multiple times. But, there's like a next level to it. It's like, how do I get on even bigger stages? How do I meet like even bigger audiences and really push my limit like that? Plus, I'm also working on a brand new keynote speech that I've shared it before in more informal ways, like in my own events, and even on this podcast I've shared the story before, but I really am bringing it together in a really new way. So it's not some of the past keynotes that I've done, it's this new thing that I'm doing, and I'm just so excited about it. So I really wanted to do this program that helped me not only refine it, but really learn that stage presence. And I did it with a leader named Jen Gottlieb, who is a top keynote speech person. Like, she's booked out for so many of these conferences and so many different events, basically around town. She's friends with a lot of people like that. So I got to Orlando. It was a really quick trip. It was from Saturday. I flew in Saturday and I flew out Tuesday. I could have actually flown out Monday because it was only a one-day event, but the flights weren't working for me that time. And so it was kind of just like a quick and dirty trip, and it was so cool. Like, I love being able to take something that I was learning online and really embody it and actually implement it in real life. Because sometimes, you take these online programs and you're like, yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, I'll do that. And this actually like really forced you to do it. And I met some incredible people there, incredible entrepreneurs. I made an 8-figure entrepreneur. She is super famous, super successful, one of the most successful coaching brands on this planet. And she loved my business. She told me that she doesn't drink, that she literally tells her children that alcohol is not for champions, that she really truly believes successful people don't drink because we are working on such a bigger impact on this planet, and just really echoing everything that I always say on this podcast and in my content and stuff like that. So it was just so cool to see that. I met some other really big entrepreneurs there, which was really cool, and just met a lot of different people in the event itself because we were able to share our speeches. We were able to, talk about our mission and our visions and everything like that. And, there was lunch, and then there was like a cocktail hour, obviously with mocktails as well. So it was just like a really cool experience. But I had these conversations with a few women because I did talk about, my company, and this isn't, a space where they're necessarily familiar with the alcohol-free movement or sober curiosity. So sometimes you still have to like explain what you really do. And it's like, oh, it's not like this recovery thing. No, it's like this different thing and all that kind of stuff. But I had these really good conversations with a few women. And I just thought it was so pertinent because if this is what so many women are thinking, I thought we needed to talk about it on the podcast. Because both of these women that came up to me, actually a few more came up to me, but these talked to me the most. They talked about basically having so many different limiting beliefs about why they can't be alcohol-free, but also feeling like that's how somehow really, really tied to what they're meant to do in life and to, evolve into the best version of themselves. And I found it was so interesting because it was almost like I was getting really good market research. And even though we have people coming into my programs, and I've always kind of heard this kind of stuff, like got more personal, like when someone's actually talking to you in person and telling you some of their like deeper stories or their deeper patterns or what they really believe or what they're getting stuck on. And I want to say the word excuse because that's really what it is at the end of the day, but it's like, it doesn't feel like an excuse when you're saying it. It feels like reality. It feels like, no, this is just the truth and I don't know how to move past this, right? And I just found that so fascinating because, one of the women that came up to me really wanted to be alcohol free, and she really, really knew that it was the one thing holding her back to the next level, that this was the one thing that was going to propel her into the leader she was meant to be, into the coach and into the speaker she was meant to be. And she probably dabbled with it a few times, but really also found it hard because all of her social circles surrounded, drinking. And, we talked about it a few times and just how it's obviously not ever me telling someone you need to go alcohol free. Like if you're listening to this podcast, you're here, you found the podcast, you're listening to it. It's your intuition telling you, it's your higher spirit telling you. And I think so many people get stuck because it's like, it feels like such a big deal. Like I can't see myself quitting drinking forever. Like, do you think I ever thought that? That would have been insane if I thought that. I literally thought I was taking a 30-day break. And when I did it again, because I drank after that 30-day break and I wanted another break, I thought I was doing another 30-day break. And when I wanted to keep going, I thought it was going to just be a 60-day break and then a 70 and then a 90-day break. And like, it really took me a while to get on board with this idea that I wasn't going to drink. And I don't think that's a really good conversation to have with yourself at first, Because truly, it's almost as if we're so scared of marriage that we're not even allowing ourselves to go on the first date with our soulmates. Obviously, you're scared of marriage. You don't even know the guy. You don't even know if you like him. You don't even know if you guys get along and if he's like aligns with your values and your life. Like, of course it's okay to be nervous about that. But where in any other point in our lives do we do that? Do we like make it so serious and so committed and so extreme that it feels like we can't even move forward unless we do the extreme? Now, obviously, I advocate for an alcohol-free lifestyle because I just know what it's like to remove it from your life, how much amazing benefits that you're going to get. And usually the reason why we introduce alcohol back into our life is just because we're playing out some limiting belief at the end of the day, right? And that you're so much more powerful without it, and that truly successful people don't drink. And it's just a lifestyle, obviously, to feel like you don't have to get caught up in the world's glamorization of alcohol. It's almost like a rebellion that we're creating in this movement, that it's not that drinking is immoral or wrong, or some people can do it and some people can't. It's like, can we just question the whole structure to begin with? Can we question this concept, this huge glamorization, this huge socialization that we have to alcohol? And really, if you think about it, like nothing else is like that. Nothing else is like a drug that you defend not partaking in. Nothing else is a drug that if you just do a little bit of it, you're okay. Right? Like nobody is just like, oh, well, I smoke, but it's okay. I only smoke 1 cigarette a day instead of a pack a day. It's like, yeah, but you're still smoking, And somehow alcohol is thought of as this different thing, this like, it seems like it's a food group somehow and you can just have a little bit and everything's fine. And it's like, we're not really talking about the realities of, what alcohol is doing to your hormones and your gut and your sleep. And it's becoming so much more prominent now with functional medicine and so much more of the advanced studies that are coming about how there's no safe amount of alcohol. But most people don't know that, right? Most people don't know that. So it's just so interesting to meet people who are navigating their relationship with alcohol and really just coming up with all these questions and having curiosity around it. Anyway, so, we're talking about like different limiting beliefs that are coming up. So I wanted to share some of the ones that I heard that I think might be interesting. So, the thing about our social circles, like that everybody drinks, how could I not drink? Or it just like seems very hard to commit to a break when I'm looking forward to all this social stuff on my calendar as well, which is very, very interesting because then it really basically posits this idea that the only way that we can connect with people and the only way we can feel wild and have fun with people is by drinking itself too. And then I heard a few things from other people about how they really, really love wine. And I really, really loved wine too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that there's anyone who's in the alcohol-free movement who wasn't like also like liking the drink of their choice at that time. But it's just so fascinating that, there's so much of the negative consequence. There's so much of the disrupted sleep. There's so much of that limiting belief of like what this is doing for you that, we don't even know how we feel sometimes as a society without alcohol in our system. Like, what if you actually like being alcohol-free way more better than you like that feeling of wine or that taste of wine? And that's often, sometimes that's not really put together as like two options for you, because there is a natural high that you get when you're alcohol free. The way that your brain rebalances, the way that the neurochemicals along with the stress hormones rebalance, like literally produces a high of its own, which I'm going to talk about in this episode because it's all about feeling wild this summer. And I think most people just don't know that because they've been drinking for so long. And also when you do take a break from alcohol, it's so short that you're not really able to experience that high because it takes a while for your brain to rebalance for that to be true. So it's just really fascinating to me. Like it's bringing me back to, 7 years ago and all the things I used to think. And then I heard something along the lines of like, well, I'm not creative when I don't drink. And I was just like thinking to myself, what if I said something like that about like cocaine? Like, I'm not creative unless I do cocaine. Like, wouldn't you be like, honey, of course you are? Like, don't let that, don't let that belief be the truth. Of course it's not the truth. Of course that's not like what your creator made you, or the way that God or universe put you on this planet is not that the only way you can be creative is if you snort this thing. It's just so fascinating as a society, like the things that are so drilled into our minds around alcohol. And all of these things at the end of the day are just limiting beliefs. They're just limiting our potential. They're limiting our empowerment, what we believe is true about ourselves. If you believe that you need alcohol to be confident, what does that say about your own belief and your sense of confidence? And it's something I brought up so many times on the show, and it's something I really had to navigate, but I just find it fascinating of like, what if there were spaces where we can really digest these kinds of things? That you can make this a priority, not necessarily to go alcohol-free forever if that's not your jam, but to be in a space where you're allowed to be so curious about it, where you're allowed to not just go with the mainstream or the go-to kind of inertia around alcohol and just presuppose that that's the way it's going to be, that everybody drinks and this is what we use it for and blah, 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 blah. But to actually ask myself, like, why do I get a sense of status from having a wine collection? Why do I get a sense of status from doing wine tasting? Why do I get a sense of wildness when I drink on a Friday night? And it's those questions that I asked for months and months and months and months on my alcohol-free journey that allowed me to really dissolve any true meaning I had around alcohol. Meaning that now alcohol is completely meaningless to me. I don't believe it brings me any status. I don't believe it's glamorous. I don't believe it relaxes me. Like anything most people believe around alcohol, I do not believe anymore. And it's not that I was like brainwashed in the opposite. It's more that I really ruthlessly went through all of these belief systems when I was taking a break from alcohol, and I uncovered and unburied basically all of them and toppled them over and found the bigger truth. And the bigger truth was that you are an infinite being. You are so powerful. You're much more powerful on your own than ever having the substance cloud your vision. Every feeling you want to feel is capable on your own, right? Because this is the thing that I've said a lot in my programs. It's never the drink that you want. It's the feeling you believe a drink will give you. So let's dive into this week's topic. I want to talk about feeling wild, right? Because I think this sense of wild, freedom, fun is really co-mixed with the summer. And I usually come out with a good summer podcast every year. So last year were like my favorite things to do instead of drinking, inspired by Europe. And, now I really want to talk about that feeling of being wild. I think we have podcast episodes about, how to have fun in the summer. Like there's just a lot. I know my podcast editor will bring them up in the show notes. But this feeling of wildness is very interesting because it's a really deep human need. We need a level of uncertainty. We need excitement in our lives. We need spontaneity. And it's very interesting because we also need the opposite. We need routine and we need comfort and we need to know that things are going to work a certain way and, have rituals and stuff like that. So it's really interesting when you see yourself as this human with paradoxical needs bouncing from one to the other. And oftentimes alcohol is used to meet all of our needs. And Tony Robbins once said that if you ever use anything to meet like 4 or 5 of your human needs, or 3 or 4, I think he said, then it will become an addiction. That you will find that you're using this tool for all of these different sources. So for example, if you need alcohol to feel a sense of certainty, that looks like you need it to relax. You need it to have a sense of like a reward at the end of a long day. You need it to, calm down. You need it to like de-stress when you hear bad news or something like that. And in the opposite vein, when you want to feel excited, when you want to feel wild, when you want to feel like, oh my God, we're going out to happy hour on a Friday night, that's a totally different feeling. That's your need for variety and for that spontaneity and that for the excitement. And so it's like you're using alcohol to meet completely different needs, and somehow it's supposed to magically do the job of both. And it's not just those two, right? We meet the need for love and connection through alcohol. We meet the need for significance with alcohol. Like, we meet the need for a lot of different things through alcohol. So it's as if alcohol somehow became this magical elixir all of a sudden that just meets everybody's needs, which isn't true, right? Or did we put this all on alcohol as a society without really questioning if it's actually meeting those needs? And to what consequence? Like, what negative consequences are you willing to deal with to meet these needs in a shoddy way already, versus all the ways that you could naturally meet your needs and have zero consequences as an effect, right? So that feeling of wildness, that feeling of that summer breeze, like, I always love to think of how amazing it felt to also be a child. Now, I don't mean all the time, like, childhood was not necessarily easy for me. I didn't like being out of control and powerless. But that feeling of not needing anything else outside of me to have a really good and fun time is a really core childhood memory. I have memories of getting out of school, and this kind of sounds silly, but we had these bushes and shrubs that were growing around this hillside by my house. So I lived in the suburbs, but right next to my house was this really big wild wilderness chaparral hill with trees, and we would play a lot there. And I remember in 5th grade, sliding down the chaparral and the shrubs and stuff like that. And that feeling of just that wild abandon, And I remember the climbing of the trees, and there was a tree outside my house that me and the neighbor kids would climb. And that was a decent sized tree that if you're a young kid, that feels a little scary. But then there were these trees out in the hills by my house that were huge. And we would climb them to pretty high branches. And obviously, it's this feeling that you felt that you used to feel all the time without alcohol. Maybe you felt it on your first date. Maybe you felt it the first time you went roller skating. Maybe you felt it, when you go swimming. It's this feeling that you're really in flow and you're connected with the world in a bigger way. And it's this abandon almost of that inner critic and all the normal constraints of your life with the rituals and the routines and the who you have to be in this moment and all the responsibilities. That feeling of wildness is almost like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing in a way, right? And sometimes that rebellion is what we need to inject back into our lives without the alcohol. Because if you think that alcohol is giving you that sense of rebellion, there couldn't be a bigger paradox. I'm going to do the thing that everybody on this planet does to feel like a rebel, right? That makes absolutely no sense. And so when you feel that need for the wildness, that spontaneity, I think the summertime is obviously a beautiful time to start injecting that into your life. And I have gone as far as recommending my clients do naked moon rituals, because how wild would that feel? How wild would it feel to go outside in your backyard in the nude in the bright full moon, right? That is crazy. Maybe it's even a little witchy, but this is what I'm talking about. How do you evoke these feelings? How wild would it feel even to do something as simple as play hooky at work and get off work early and go see a matinee? There's a sense of wildness there, this sense of freedom, this sense of ooh, risque as well, that I shouldn't be doing this. And obviously you're not truly causing harm. You're not harming your body and creating all this, negative consequences down the line. It's almost as if you're just doing the thing that you usually don't give yourself permission to do. Even sometimes having such a full belly laugh can feel so wild because you're allowing yourself that full abandon. And so when I think of summer, I am, on the day that this podcast episode comes out, I'm flying to Paris. And I'm going to be leading our Thought Leader Mastermind there. I cannot wait. I'm going to tell you all about it in our next episode, because there's so much to share. We've been doing so much behind the scenes in our Thought Leader Mastermind. Paris is going to be such a dream. I cannot wait. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. So I'm going to tell you all about it. Stay tuned till next week. But basically, I'm flying to Paris, and I'm going to be spending 6 weeks or so in Europe, which is one of my favorite ways to spend the summer. Now, I know we can't all necessarily go travel everywhere we want to necessarily go. During the summertime, we might have responsibilities or this or that or work or whatnot. But I feel like we can inject what we want most out of summer and that feeling of wildness into our lives no matter what. So I'm going to be first in Paris, we're going to be in Rome, we're going to be in the Amalfi Coast, we're going to go to Puglia on the other side of Italy, we're going to be in Slovenia, we're going to be in Poland because I have so much family in Poland, so we always end up in Poland. And I just can't wait for it because it's one of those times where I get to do my favorite things to feel that summer energy and that wildness. And I bet you some of the things I'm going to describe are things you can do no matter where you are in the world, whether or not you're traveling, whether or not you have a vacation. And so one of them to me too is just really enjoying the natural pleasures of the summer, like bounty. And I don't know if it feels wild to you or not, but I love buying cherries, for example. I love buying nectarines. It's something that feels so special. These things aren't around most time of the year. I love that watermelon feeling. It just reminds me of that summer energy, and I love doing it in different ways. Like you're getting out of the house, you're having picnics, you're taking the stuff to the beach, you're just feeling this summer energy that like really does remind you of being a kid again. And then for me, another huge one in addition to that summer produce is the water. I have to be by the water in the summer. It is so therapeutic. There have been so many studies shown about how calming water is, whether it's the ocean or a river or a lake. Like we literally evolved near this kind of stuff. We always had settlements near water, obviously, and it is so soothing for the nervous system. And I just have to be by water in the summer. Thank God I do live by the coast in California as well. So for me, I need to swim. Now, I am not an Olympic swimmer. I'm not an athletic swimmer. I do not wear a cap. I don't usually wear goggles. You know, if I'm in a pool, I will, but I like to just recreationally swim. Like it's not this huge big deal. I'm not doing laps. But that feeling, my recreational swims doing the frog, feel so amazing. I'm super convinced that salt water will just transform your body, your skin, your hair. It is one of the most amazing things. There's so many minerals in it, so there is some science to it as well. But swimming, I was just reading this beautiful book about swimming, and it was really talking about like, why would you need to do drugs or why would you need to drink when you can swim? And I was like, oh my God, these authors aren't even alcohol free necessarily or part of the sober movement. And they're saying the same thing that I feel when I swim, that abandon, that wildness, that sense of freedom. And especially too, I don't necessarily feel like I feel the trance and the beauty of getting really meditative in a pool. So I do love swimming no matter where it is, but you can't be the ocean. Like you cannot be natural water because there's also the thrill of it, right? Like the ocean at the end of the day is terrifying. There are things that live in it. There are waves. There's like a tsunami that could come. There's currents. There's riptides. There's this fear element to the ocean as well. And when I was younger in the Pacific Ocean where I live, we have really big waves. And my parents used to take me as a child to a beach that had free parking because a lot of the other beaches don't have free parking. And this beach happened to have the biggest waves out of all the beaches. Like if the waves were like 3 or 4 feet at a different beach, this one would have 6 feet. And even as a little girl, my dad was also a swimmer, is a swimmer. He still swims to this day. It's so adorable, by the way. We go on vacations. He brings his cap. He has his little trunks. Like he goes into the ocean. He is 80 years old and he is swimming like a mofo. But anyway, as a child, my father would encourage me to go past the waves to go swim. And that was terrifying because these were actually really big waves that to this day, these beaches I feel like are scary to go past the waves. And I am an adult now with an adult body. So as a kid, I can't even imagine, right, what it felt like. And I would do it, right? So I did learn to do it and stuff like that. But I remember I got trapped once in a wave. Obviously it happened multiple times, but one time it actually knocked me out and I had to get saved by a lifeguard. And I have had nightmares about tsunamis probably ever since then. Not all the time, but like every 6 months or so, I'm gonna have probably a nightmare about a tsunami where this like crazy wave current is coming at me. So there's this like thrill and wildness to it, right? And if say you live nowhere by the water, you don't have any option to go swimming, even hiking can feel like that too, because you don't know if you're gonna come upon a rattlesnake and you don't know how strenuous it's gonna be. It's like the natural world. There's a reason why, Thoreau wrote about this and so many romantics wrote about it. It's sublime. And sublime doesn't just mean that it's beautiful. It means also that there's a terror underneath it. And I think that that's the feeling that you're actually after in alcohol. You want to feel that sublimity. You want to feel that sublime terror, the beauty and the terror together. You want to feel wild. You want to feel electric. And when you go swim in the ocean, when you're a little scared and you come out and you feel like a freaking saltwater goddess, you're going to feel pretty wild. You're going to feel pretty free. You're going to feel that raw energy, that raw electricism. So those are like ways that I embody that. I do that. I'm going to be swimming in the Mediterranean this summer. I love to swim in the Mediterranean. It's not as scary as the Pacific, but then I always come home and I swim a lot in the Pacific as well. And that's just that feeling. And maybe for you, again, it's not the ocean, but where can you take these feelings that you used to feel as a child, that real wildness, that real sense of freedom, that sense of abandon, and inject that into your life? And it's not necessarily that you have to do something crazy every single day this summer to not feel like you want to drink alcohol or something like that. But are you meeting the need as an adult? Or did you completely just abandon this part of yourself, this part of you that wants this energy, this part of you that wants to feel this sense of freedom? I also really meet this need in my business as well, because I will do something that totally scares me in my business. And I know that usually we don't think of that as meeting our need for wildness, but it is actually doing that. When you say, I'm going to launch something that I've never done before, or I'm going to, speak on a stage, or I'm going to do a program I've never done before, or even start a business to begin with, that is wildness. That is the feeling. It is pulsating. It is electric. It's this energy, right? And I think for so many of us who use or used alcohol as a way to try to feel like that, at the end of the day, sure, yeah, you got like a 20-minute buzz, but then it was the opposite of that. It was the most numbed out state you could be. It was like whatever it was you weren't proud of. And everything that I'm talking about is something that you feel so proud of, that you feel so enamored with yourself for doing. Wild summer ideas. Let's keep going. Okay, there's something to me also about the stars. So we talked about water. I love natural produce. I love traveling. I love road trips. Like I could go on and on and on about how to have an amazing summer, but I'm really thinking about that wild feeling right now. Not just being in nature. Like, how do you feel wild? So there's something that's really powerful to me about the night sky. Really, really powerful. I feel this sense of connection with the night sky. Like when I see stars, almost as if I'm being spoken to by something bigger than me. And that in itself feels like a little secret that I stumbled upon, this little sense of wildness, this almost this sense of shamanism that like only I have access to and nobody else does. And it's not like I'm viscerally getting some crazy messages from the skies or something like that, but there's this feeling when I'm really truly connected. When you're camping or you are in a beautiful place and you look up and you can see the stars or you see a really beautiful moon, it feels not only like you're connecting to something that's bigger than you, but it almost feels like you're being divinely guided, that you're getting some kind of message, that you're being shown what the next way forward is. And sometimes that next way forward does feel really big and really scary. And again, that's where that sense of wildness can come, that not only are you getting secret messages and you're communing with something so ancient and so beautiful and so majestic up in the sky, but that also there's a bigger intention behind it. There's some kind of message and push that it's leading you to. And I think that is really, really special. And I think the summer is a really good time to do that. Maybe you have a camping trip. Maybe you'll plan some. Maybe you'll even just sleep under the stars in your backyard. Like, how fun would that be? Instead of a Friday night with wine, we get it. It's cliche. We've all done it before. Like, put up your mattress outside, and sleep under the stars. And then do like a crazy full moon ritual naked, and you will rediscover what it feels like to feel wild without a drop of alcohol in sight. And I love the sensory pleasures. I love just really feeling alive in the summer. And I usually structure my life in a way to try to work a little bit less in the summer so that I can really enjoy that energy and that sun, and the sun not setting until like 8 p.m. or even 10 or 11 p.m. depending on where I am in the world, and watching those late night sunsets and staying up and waking up early, because it's also like you don't need as much sleep in the summer as you do in the winter because of the circadian rhythm and how we respond to the sun being out more. And I love if you could almost like bottle that energy. It's like that feeling of bottling, those bugs that like light up. It's electric. And how can you feel like that this summer? That is my task for you. No matter where you are, maybe you're like 5 years alcohol free. It's like, let's re-inject some of that wildness into your summer. Maybe this is your first summer that you're attempting to do on a break from alcohol. I think it's actually the most incredible season that you could really concentrate on this, that really make this feeling come so alive for you. Because it's actually the most fun season to do it in, when you think that you need alcohol to have fun or to socialize or to feel that feeling of excitement and spontaneity. Like, how about we rediscover being these crazy wild children again? That inner wild woman inside of you, she is an archetype. She lives in every single one of us. And I'm just really fascinated to see what's going to come out. I can't wait to share more of my summer with you. So I'm going to be posting on Instagram. Be sure you're following me at euphoric.af. I'll be showing you everywhere we're going, how I'm injecting the wildness into the summer. And we're also doing this in Euphoric the Club. So if you are not in yet, doors close today, you guys. This isn't something that's just going to be open all the time. We want to really create a cohort experience and just get to know everyone in a really deep way. So the doors are closing on the club. The next time we open the club is probably going to be in the fall, and the price will go up. It is only $59 right now to get in, and it is all of my signature programs on losing your desire to drink, on finding your fiery purpose, and really feeling fulfillment and aliveness in your life. We have monthly wellness challenges. I cannot wait for you to learn about June's monthly wellness challenge, because it is a secret tool that you can use to drastically, completely upgrade your immune system so that you're not getting sick or anything like that. It helps you totally reduce inflammation and those like dips in your skin and stuff like that. It helps you look so much more radiant. I can't wait to share. It's super easy to do. And you're going to be able to, do this wellness challenge with us together in the club. We also have incredible guest speakers. We have a bar instructor that's teaching bar classes. We have coaching hours. So whether you are, trying to let go of a relationship with alcohol, whether you're trying to build a new, fulfilling, free, wild life, alcohol-free, whether you have a huge purpose and you want to be able to get coaching around some of the more mindset issues like personal development, imposter syndrome, feeling doubt and feeling stuck. These are perfect topics to bring to the coaching hours. And, I speak to so many successful women around the nation, and it's so uncanny how many women who really have a big impact to make on this planet work with mentors and have coaches. And that's why it's so important to me to make this super available at like a low rate. So it's only $59 to join. You get all of this and more. I can't wait to see you in the club. It's going to be such an amazing place to hang out and just nourish the alcohol-free body, mind, and soul of your dreams. And this kind of feeling that I'm talking about, this kind of summer that I'm talking about, that is what we're injecting in the club. That is what you and I are going to experience together. I'd also love to know how you're injecting wildness into the summer. So there's so many different ideas I've talked about in past episodes, and I didn't want to just have like a things to do kind of episode this time. So feel free to go back to those other episodes. There's so much in the natural world. There's so much of that freedom, that funness, that aliveness to have, and to really just rediscover what's fun for you. Because if you think about it, I love to think about it this way. If there are rats in a cage and we're doing some kind of an experiment, right, where we give them alcohol, is it not going to light up their brain? Is their brain not going to be like, ooh, this is fun, right? But is that inherently what mice do for fun? Is that what brings them organic joy? Or is the mice that are in the cage who are running around in mazes and finding little cheese and running around on those, wheels and stuff like that, are they having the fun? And I think it takes a really dystopian world to think that the mice who are drinking alcohol are having fun versus the ones who are playing and enjoying all their senses and enjoying the world around them and truly feeling wild and alive and like they are part of something bigger than them. And yet it's in these examples that I share with you that we get it, but somehow when we explode it to the world, we don't get it, right? It's like, oh, somehow alcohol is the most fun thing in the world and that's the only way you have fun. And it's like, it's actually so dystopian when we think that. It truly, truly is. It's this creepy dystopian effect that we have, this concept around alcohol. I'm so glad it's changing because I really rediscovered what was fun for me. I knew that when I was a child, I forgot it when I was a drinker, and I had to rediscover it. And that was really an experiment. And it was doing these kinds of things that I'm talking about. And I was going to Zumba classes and writers' workshops and yoga and, strange things that I'd never done before up until that point, to find my fun, to find what's wild, to find what's really, really incredible of experience to me, that it's like an organic sense of joy. I don't need this outside stimulant to feel this way. I feel that way. I bring the joy. I make the fun. I've had a lot of episodes on fun as well on this podcast. So if you want to scroll back and talk through this conversation, I think it would be super, super helpful if this episode was helpful as well too, because it's a huge limiting belief we have as a society, right? That we need alcohol to have fun. And it's actually couldn't be further from the truth. Alcohol just makes you feel dead inside at the end of the day. It doesn't even take that much alcohol. It's numbing you. It's clouding your senses. It's not allowing you to experience the world, right? Like you're just the rat in the cage drinking this drink, where you could be running around and really enjoying and making a profound difference and a profound impact and finding that sense of fulfillment and freedom. So to your summer of wildness, to your summer of freedom, to your summer of electric energy, I hope you have an amazing one. I hope you enjoy this episode, and do be sure to follow along on my trips in Europe. And next week, I can't wait to tell you more about my Thought Leader Mastermind in Paris. It's going to be such an experience, and I'll see you then.